Hi everyone. Good morning or good day because people are joining us far away from Philippines where it's almost like a 10 o'clock in the night for them. So thank you for joining. And I am Andal Balu, President and the co-founder of Cocotown. I just want to give you a brief introduction about Cocotown, and we are in the business of creating and empowering chocopreneurs. Our mission is pioneering craft chocolate technology. So we come up with innovative machines, not me too machines. And our vision is to be one-stop shop for chocopreneurs and foodpreneurs to create award-winning chocolate and gourmet foods. And we started it in 1992 with just specialty kitchen equipment trading. But in 2006, we started supplying machines for people to make chocolate, and then we created Cocoa Town name in 2009. So we continued the pioneering spirit, and we always, from the beginning, we focused on three things. One is cocoa farming, sustainability, customers, businesses, and environment. Even before, sustainability became a cliche word, we have been focusing on it since 2006 because cocoa farming, farmers are 60 years or older, and we want to make sure the next generation sees the potential there and our customers' business because they have to succeed to help their community and they have to support the cocoa farmers. And then the environment, we make our machines with high quality stainless steel. So it doesn't end up in a landfill. People who bought our machines in 2006, they're still using the machines with the minimum changes. As long as you use it right, you just have to say, change a few parts. Like the car, you have to do the oil change or change some parts to keep it running. And then we have actually enabled and accelerated bean to bar craft chocolate movement by making it accessible to anywhere and anybody in the world. So it's a minimum investment, minimum footprint. So you can start the business in a 10 by 10 square foot room and basic knowledge and skills. You don't need to have advanced skills to operate our machines. And also now the farmers can add value for their commodity product by processing fully or partially. So they can sell it as a nibs, or they sell it as a couverture, or they can go all the way to bonbons and truffles and chocolate bars. And then we also have three pillars. We have equipment, education, and exposure. So we have the patented equipment and we have the education. One is the Bean to Bar boot camp. We teach everything to start your business. Actually, the next Bean to Bar boot camp is happening in India, October 24th to 26th. Then we also have this empowering Chakopreneur webinar series that we started in 2020 to help people to get through the pandemic. And then exposure, we help our customers to exhibit in traditional chocolate festivals by subsidizing the booth cost. For example, now three companies are co-exhibiting with us in Salon de Chocolate in Paris this October. So for future opportunities, if any of you are interested, please go ahead and contact us. And then we also do the equitable pricing, our price transparency. If you go to the other companies, they always say ask for a quote, but we put all our prices in the website. It's very clear, so everybody pays the same price. And also we provide financial assistance depending on where you are. We have some resources to help you to pay them. And then we are also the capacity building. You can start the machines to make 500 grams of chocolate if you're a chocoholic, just want to try it in your home kitchen, all the way to the commercial melanges that can do 90 kilos per hour, per batch, or we have the Winnovers that does 100 kilos per hour. And then this is a small history of the timeline. We still need to add something after 2020. So we started with introducing wet grinders in 94, even though our company was formed in 92. And then we did the melanges, then the commercial grinders, then we got the patents and then roasters, everything. And then now the newest addition to our line is the tempering machines. So it's ready. It's a tabletop continuous tempering machine with the vibrating table and dispenser. So you can look at our website. We also have the new website. if all of you in your few minutes go check it out, and if you can give your suggestions, we will appreciate that. And I want to end here. We always say, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. That translates to, may all beings everywhere in the universe be happy, and may the thoughts and actions and words of my own life contribute in some way to that happiness and freedom for all. Thank you. I turn it over to Teresa.
So many buttons, clicking buttons. Okay, welcome. Thank you, Mrs. Balu. So I've been tasked with some housekeeping. So what I want to let you know is that this session is being recorded. You will receive a link to view the recording in the weeks following. And also want to let you know that if you have a question during the presentation, go ahead and put it in the chat. We will try to ask some questions during the presentation. If it feels right, we will do that. But also go ahead and put your questions in the chat. We'll have a little time at the end for the Q&A. I think Mrs. Balu covered everything that I had on my list to remember to cover, like the Bean to Bar boot camp in India coming up in October. So with that, what I'd like to do is ask Christina, just so we can get to know you a little bit. Can you share something about your relationship with chocolate? Can you share with us something about that?
Absolutely. So I'm a chocoholic, like Balu said. And if I don't think anybody that doesn't like chocolate can be trusted. I'm just, that's just my personal opinion. But my mom loved her chocolate, and she would have it in the refrigerator. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's where she kept her chocolate. And she would always buy two. She would buy one for her that was exclusively hers, and then one that anybody else could eat a little bit of. But God forbid if you touched her chocolate in that refrigerator. So
that was very nice of her to have one that was solely hers and one that was a community property. I haven't been able to do that yet. They're all mine. Okay, well, with that, welcome, and thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us. And I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to first introduce, can you see my screen, everybody? Or no, I have to share it, no?
Yes. Yeah, you'll have to share it. We don't see it yet.
All right. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Awesome. So if I look that way, it's just because my setup, I have two screens. And so my screen is over there. It's not that I'm not paying attention to you. But I'm going to tell you in just a little bit why I asked you what your favorite meal is. But my name is Christina Ramirez. I am an author. I am a coach, and I do a lot of other things. So I figured, let me just tell you 5 things that you should know about me before we start this presentation. Okay. Now, I try to make them fun. So the first thing is, I'm actually from Brazil. My parents are Cubans. I was born and raised in Brazil. I lived in Northern Africa. I lived in Chile. I see that there's some people from Colombia, Venezuela, and Peru. I've traveled a lot to those countries. I haven't been to the Philippines yet, but I'm so looking to the day that I can get there. And this is my family when we lived in Morocco. And I say that to say that I know a thing or two about diversity. And I know that sometimes, culture comes in and we think in different ways. And throughout my career of working in empowerment and confidence, the truth is that underneath culture, we kind of the same, right? So the things that, maybe confidence, the way I see it as somebody that has lived in the US for so many years, and you that have lived wherever you live, maybe that's a little different, but underneath, if we take away all of those layers, we all still bleed red, right? We are all still very similar when it comes to these things. So I just wanted to share that. The second thing is that I started my business working with kids. So I started my career after college. I worked on Wall Street. I did mergers and acquisitions for Latin America. I worked in Silicon Valley. in technology. And when I had my kids, I left the for-profit world and I got into education. And it's really where I found my passion. So what you're going to learn about today are things that I have been working on since 2013 with children. And I developed a curriculum to teach confidence to children through running. And I then translated that curriculum to, things that you're going to hear about today. Okay. And I'm also an author. So I wrote a book. It's a best-selling book. It's called Empowered by Discomfort. And some of the things that you're going to learn today are covered, but obviously in a lot more detail in the book. And finally, I practice what I preach. So my thing is confidence and empowerment. And I believe that confidence comes from doing difficult things. I don't become confident by crossing the street, right? I become confident by doing things that are difficult and then learning from those, whether I'm successful at that or not. So I practice what I preach. And this is me snowboarding at the national championships here in the US. I came in second place for my age group. Don't be too impressed so here I was crying because I was so afraid. It's not my comfort zone at all. And there were only 3 of us competing. And the only reason why I got second place was because she disqualified. But, I showed up, I was uncomfortable, and I did my part. So this is just that I too go through this, what I'm going to show you. And then that's my dog Moon. He's sitting back there, but I'm always watched, all right? As a teacher, as a mom, as a coach, as a presenter, I do a lot of public speaking. Everybody, people are always looking at me. So I am who I am. And I'm not going to pretend to sit here and tell you something that I am not, or I'm a way with somebody and a different way with somebody else, because that would get very confusing. So having said that, I hope that you listen to me with an open mind, and that, what I say, it just comes from my heart and is just authentic to who I am. Okay. So I have a deal. I can't see the chat. Hold on. Oh, no. I'm going the wrong way. I can't see the chat. So, okay. We'll just have to, Teresa, I'll just rely on you to tell me if there's any questions on the chat. So the reason why, okay. And this slide is because, this talk is about confidence, and it's about being empowered by discomfort. So it might bring up some emotions in you. And maybe sometimes you're going to laugh, and sometimes you're going to be like, who the hell does she think she is? And And all of it is okay. There is no right or wrong about how you should or shouldn't feel or react to something. What I want you to try to remember is to just notice. So I'm feeling anxiety. I'm feeling remorse. I'm feeling embarrassment. I'm feeling joy. Whatever it is, just notice what kind of feelings are coming up while I'm doing this talk, and then be curious, right? Because one thing is to notice it, but the other thing is to be like, I wonder why I was triggered in that way. I wonder why I thought those things. Like, what was it about what she said that made me feel this way? And just be curious, because if you notice how you're feeling and then you're curious about it, then you're really going to take something out of this presentation. If you just sit there and you listen to it, sure, you'll get knowledge, but for it to really sink in, try to bring that knowledge to you personally, right? Like, how do you react to this? How do you relate to this? Because I promise you that in here, in the next 40 minutes or 30 minutes that we're going to be together, there are the tools that can change your life. I don't say that lightly because I have worked with over 10,000 people and I have seen it happen over and over and over again. So if you're curious, if you're open, if you notice how you're feeling, this is really has the power to impact you. So I encourage you to just, turn your cell phone off, pay attention, be present, and try, and absorb what I'm trying to tell you. Is that a deal? I can't see the chat, so I don't know if anybody's listening to me or not. Okay. All right. So the reason why I asked what your favorite meal was because remember how I told you that I do this program for children? So a lot of times I work with middle school. So middle school is like 11, 12, 13-year-olds. And when I get to class, I ask them, what is your favorite potato chip? And some kids will tell me what they like. And some kids will tell me, like, I don't know, I don't care. I hate potato chips, because that age, they're all kind of a pain in the butt. But I see the chat. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Good. Oh, yes, this is going to make my life so much easier. Okay. So what they don't know is that I actually go to the store and I buy whatever it is that they told me that they liked. But for the people that didn't tell me what they like, then I will buy them whatever is on sale because I don't want to spend that much money. And it's usually pork rinds. And if you like pork rinds, that's great. But if you don't like pork rinds, well, there's nothing I can do about that. So when somebody tells me, oh, like I see here from Colombia, I like trout and coconut milk with patacon. I can give you that. I can give you trout and coconut milk with patacon because it's very specific. But if somebody tells me, I don't know what pilau is, authentic Mexican tacos, I'm going to bring you what I think you would like, but I don't know if you're a vegetarian, if you're a carnivore, if you like I don't like fish tacos, but I would get fish tacos because it's an authentic Mexican taco. So I ask this as your first lesson that you will not get what you want if you're not specific about your requests. So it shouldn't be like, well, I'll be okay with anything, right? And I'm picking on you, Teresa, just because I know you and I know you're not going to get bent out of shape. But if you tell me authentic Mexican tacos and I bring you fish tacos and you, like me, don't like fish, whose fault is it? Right? That like, oh, you're looking forward to this meal. I did my best. Like I brought you what I like, but if you don't like, or, I like carne asada, to tell you the truth. So if I bring you carne asada, but you're a vegetarian, well, I didn't know. So I'm going to do what is best for me. So the first lesson, be specific. Tell me or tell whoever it is that you're interacting with what you need, because if not, they're going to look at it from their lens and they're going to do what's best for them. All right. Just like you don't go to a car dealer and say, like, oh, I want to buy a car. Well, what type of car? Oh, I don't know. Just something that runs. The dealer is not going to give you what's best for you. They're going to give what they're going to get the most commission on. So be specific. So far, so good. Am I speaking too fast? Can you give me a yes, all good, or no, you need me to go slower?
You're doing great.
Okay, all good. Perfect. Okay. So now that we know what we're going to, to be specific about things, sometimes we're like, oh, but like we contract, right? So we're going to talk about growth mindset. If anybody knows what growth mindset is, just put it on the chat. And I'm going to explain to it pretty briefly. So growth mindset is, it was coined by a doctor at Stanford University, a professor. Her name is Carol Dweck, and she wrote a book called Mindset. And I can promise you that that book changed my life because I realized just how stubborn and fixed mindset I was. And basically, she said that there's two mindsets, and I also sent to Teresa a quiz that when that when she sends out the replay, she'll send the quiz to you, and you can take a quiz to see more or less where your mindset is on this. Looking at all experiences as a chance to grow. That's exactly what a growth mindset is. So there's two mindsets. There's the fixed and the growth. In the past, if you would have looked at the definition of a fixed mindset, you would see my picture right next to it, because I was 100% like this. That's how I was taught that life was, right? You're born good or bad at things, and that's just the way it is. So you're born good at math, or you're born good at writing, or you have a talent for learning tennis, or you don't have a talent for sports. Whatever it is that you were born with, those traits are fixed, and you don't really, like, if I was not, if I wasn't born inclined to math, then I could never be an engineer. That's a fixed mindset. A growth mindset is the contrary. So a growth mindset is, okay, you believe that intelligence or talents or skills, anything actually, can be developed over time with effort and with hard work. So people who have a growth mindset, they tend to be more motivated because they're learning. They tend to be more resilient because failure is, on quotes, is like what Teresa just said, failure is an opportunity to grow. And they tend to achieve more. And I'm going to show you examples of what that looks like in like real life scenarios, so that you can see a little bit, how is it that you view the world? Because we all have, you may not have glasses like I do, right? But we all see the world through one of these, through a lens. And that lens can be our culture, all our experiences, what we have been taught, where we live, like all of those things create a vision for us of how the world is or isn't. But the truth is that I can take your, if you take your lens out and you put a lens that has, I don't know, that has a pink lens, then everywhere I look is going to look pink. And everywhere I look is going to, if I put a yellow lens, everything I see is going to have yellow. So our lens can change. And the growth mindset is that, is the ability to change, to grow, to expand, and to learn. Okay. So here's how it plays out. When you are, so the author of the book Mindset is Carol Dweck. Let's go. I don't know what that was, and I don't know how to make that stop. So hopefully it stops by itself. All right. I'm just writing here, Carol Dweck. That's the name of the author. It's a really boring book, I have to tell you. It's like very academic. So it's like, we had 20,000 students and X percentage, blah, blah, blah. So you can buy her book, or you can get a YouTube, and she has a fabulous TED Talk where she does a great job of just synthesizing, the high level of this stuff. If you're really interested, read the book. It's fascinating, but it is a little dense and boring. Okay, so how does this show up in our lives? I'm not going to go through all of this because you can read, but the ones that really, like, when I first heard it, was like, oh my God, that is so me. So when people give you feedback, if you have a fixed mindset, you will take it as criticism. Okay. Why? Because, for example, if I am a fixed mindset and it's like, well, I'm a teacher and I'm a presenter and I'm a public speaker, and if you're giving me feedback, you're telling me that what I'm doing is not quite up to par, or it's not quite what you want it to be. So instead of me looking at it and the growth mindset would be is like, I appreciate the feedback because I want to be better. A fixed mindset is like, that's who I am, and you're criticizing who I am. So I have to make myself, I'm going to shut down, I'm going to make myself right, and I'm going to make you wrong. Okay. That's like a really important one, because when people give you feedback, you want it. You want to know what you can be better at, because we always want to consistently grow, right? That's the growth mindset. Here's another one. Failure means it's time to give up, right? When things don't go right, oh, that's just, it's just because, I don't know, if I wanted, okay, so here's a story for you. I studied philosophy in college, completely useless, but I loved it. And from philosophy, somehow I got hired into investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, very analytical, very technical. And what I learned is that the logic behind accounting is just logic, which I learned in philosophy. It just has a different vocabulary. And from there, I wanted to do financial development. So I worked with microcredit with Mohammed Yunus in Bangladesh, and I got into MIT to do financial engineering. I studied philosophy, right? But I could do that because but if I think that failure is a sign for me giving up, then you don't move forward, because if failure is an indication that that is your limit, right? Well, I can't apply to MIT, or I can't be financial engineering because I'm an arts person, then any failure is going to reconfirm that feeling that I can't do something. Whereas if you have a growth mindset, the only way that you actually fail, and listen to this because it's important, is if you quit, right? Because as long as you don't quit, you're learning, you're growing, you're changing, you're developing. And that is what we want. So big word in growth mindset is the word yet. I can't do that yet, but with effort and hard work, I can learn that. I can learn anything. I'm not like, if I wanted to be, I'm 51. If I wanted to change my careers and be an astrophysicist, I'm not saying that it would be fun or easy, but I could, right? Because I have that growth mindset, because I know that I can learn. Everybody with me, can you put a 1 on the chat if you're still paying attention? Because it's hard. Like, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Oh, yay. Thank you. All right, guys, I appreciate that. Okay. Another way that this shows up is in how you compare yourself to others. And anytime you compare yourself to somebody else, you're going to lose. Listen to me, people. Whoops. You're going to lose. So here's a couple examples. You'll have a fixed mindset if other people's success means that you are not successful. All right. So if somebody else being awesome at what they do, it means absolutely nothing about you. It means that they're doing them and you're doing you. But this is what happens, especially now, especially with our kids. We look at social media and Instagram, and we feel bad about ourselves, but we're comparing and despairing. And we compare in 3 ways. One is that we compare our inside to somebody else's outside. So if I go to Instagram and I see everybody's happy and healthy and exercising, I have no idea what they're feeling inside, but I know what I'm feeling inside. And what I'm feeling inside does not look like what they're feeling outside or what they look like in the outside. So I will always feel bad about myself if I'm comparing my inside to somebody else's outside. The second way that we compare and despair is that we look at, oh my gosh, I have a friend who is super smart. Like, talk about astrophysics, like he's designed the latest rocket to, I don't know what. incredibly smart. And then I have Mary, who's super healthy. I mean, she's in the gym, like every picture of her is her at the gym, flexing her muscles, doing her thing, and so healthy. And, here I am, I can't even run around the block without gasping for air. And then there is Julie, and Julie's kids are perfect. They are so smart. They're all going to wonderful colleges and they eat vegetables at every meal. And my kids, I can't even get them to get to school on time. And, I'm constantly being called to the school because of discipline. And then there's Jimmy, and Jimmy is, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but Jimmy is super social. Like he's always at a networking event and he's always taking pictures with, like, he's so outgoing. And here you put me somewhere physical with other people and I clam up. What I'm doing is that I am comparing the best trait of somebody to all of me. I'm comparing a piece of them to all of who I am, and I will always lose. Because the truth is that the person that is super healthy might struggle in the relationship, or the person that is, that whose kids are perfect, maybe they don't have a good relationship with their child. And this is not about putting the other person down, but realizing that you probably have your own strengths as well. You're just not strong at everything, right? Even Jeff Bezos, I'm sure he's a fantastic entrepreneur, right? I don't think anybody can deny that, but I'm sure there are other things that he's not so great at. So you can't compare all of who you are to the best quality that's in 20 different people. You will always lose. And then the third way that we compare and despair is our chapter 1 with somebody else's chapter 11. So, and this happens a lot in business. So let's say that in your community, you have somebody that has been a chocolate maker for 30 years or however long, and they just got a deal to sell their chocolates in like the fanciest store in your country. And you look at them and you're like, oh my gosh, look at them. I'm like, they're so good. I'm never going to be able to sell my chocolates to that store because they already did that and they're so much better than I am. Yeah, they've been doing it for 20 years. You've been doing it for 2 minutes, right? They're in their chapter 10 of their story. You're in your chapter 1. And I say that a lot to my clients or to people who look at me and they're like, oh, but you know all of this, right? Like you have all these skills. I was like, yeah, I've been working on this for however many, like 10 years. You are listening to this for the very first time. We're not going to have the same knowledge. But it doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to learn everything that I know. You don't have the capacity to build your business, to learn about chocolate making, to do all the things that you want to do. It just takes time and effort to grow. Okay. And then the last way that we use our growth mindset is when we learn something new. So oftentimes when something is difficult, we're like, it's just like, I'm not good at that. That's who? Right? Just because something is difficult doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that it's harder and you have to do an effort in order to learn it. So a growth mindset would be, I have to try new and difficult things in order to grow. When something is hard, doesn't mean that it wasn't meant for you. It just means that you have to try harder. That's it. Or I can't do that. And I mentioned this before. I was like, why not? There is nothing that you cannot do. And I say that, and I understand that we all have different challenges. Trust me, I have my challenges too. But whatever it is, you can do it. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's practical. I'm not saying it's inexpensive. It might be a royal pain in the butt, but you can do it. You just can't do it yet. So you have to figure out that gap between where you are and where you want to be and work on that. That's what a growth mindset does. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a balance of what a growth mindset or a fixed mindset is, but we are all both. So there's some areas of my life, like in my career, I am 100% growth mindset. I think because I've had so much experience and so much quote unquote failures, right? So many things that I did wrong until I got it right. So I have a lot of experience, but that's why I have a growth mindset in that. But there might be other areas of my life where I have more of a fixed mindset. And maybe that's in my parenting, or maybe that's in my relationships, because that comes from a whole history of culture that, that those are harder to turn around. So I'm not saying that like you should be 100% growth mindset. We're all a little bit of both. But a growth mindset is really going to help you get your goals more than a fixed mindset. And it's actually going to make you happier in the long run. So the idea is figure out, where are you closed-minded, or where do you have a fixed mindset? And is that something that you're willing to change? You may not be, and that's okay. But now you know. And now you know that you have an option. And now you know that the way you see things isn't the only way there is to see things. And now you have a choice of what to do about that. Okay. Any questions so far? That was a whole mouthful. Anything that I need to address before we move on? Give a second for the chat. All good. Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback, guys. All right. So now that we know about growth mindset, I don't want you to think that I sit here, from the US, having had all these experiences, like, oh, of course it's easy for her. Like, I have my own challenges, right? And this is my husband. His name was Joe, and he was diagnosed with cancer in October of 21, and then he died in December of 21. And when he died, it was the worst time of my life. I became a single mom. I was an entrepreneur, so it's not like I had a job that was going to pay me sick leave. And we lived in a rural part of our country, and I couldn't keep up the house. Like, I had to move cities, like a lot. I felt like my life was imploding and falling apart. So I mentioned that just because I think he's handsome and I like to share him with you, but also so that you don't sit there and be like, yeah, easy for her to say in the US, like easy for her, like she has all of these things. And the truth is, we all have challenges, right? Thank you, Allison. We all have things that are not working in our lives, or that are not working at the level that we would want them to work. You have your own challenges, but I am saying without a shadow of a doubt that your challenges are 20% of your life. And I call it discomfort, right? And it's a hard pill to swallow. I get that. If you would have told me the day after my husband died, oh, Christina, I know that it feels bad, but that's only 20% discomfort, I might have punched you, because I couldn't hear it. My brain was swarming with fight and flight chemicals, so I couldn't hear that. But through time, and if I'm able to zoom out, yes, my husband died and it was horrible. But I have my kids, I have my work, I have my dogs, I have my health, I have a home. I have so many other things that if I'm able to put it into perspective, as horrible as it is and as painful as it was, he died, but I didn't. My life is still bigger than that. So when you have 20%, that, and it's not a scientific number. It's a number. I chose 20% because it's statistically, it's significant, but it's still manageable, right? So when you feel that discomfort, when you're like, I don't know why I can't get my business to whatever. It's like I've tried everything, or it's my kids, they're just driving me crazy, or the weather and the crops are totally lost for. I don't know anything about chocolate, so I apologize if I'm saying something that isn't true. But whatever your challenge is, it's only 20% of your life. And that challenge, all it is like flashing lights, and it's telling you this is what you need to address next in the evolution of your life. Go here to grow, whatever that challenge is. So instead of being afraid of it, understand that there was always going to be something in your life that is not working at the level that you want it to. It will never be perfect, ever. And that is okay. That's not a bad thing, because that means that you wouldn't grow. And I can hear you, even though I can't see you. I can hear you saying, it's like, oh no, you don't understand. If I were to live in a beach for the next 30 years of my life, drinking a pina colada and not having to worry about anything, I'm going to be just fine. You're not. You're going to be bored out of your mind, right? Maybe at the beginning it'll be nice, but then you're going to be really bored, because humans need growth. Like it's like this, it's a need, it's a human need that we have to continue evolving, so that discomfort, those challenges are there to help you evolve. So when you fix a problem, right? So like with my grief, when that started becoming more manageable, it didn't mean that now I have 10% discomfort and now I'm 90% happy. That's not what happens. What happens is that my life gets bigger, the container grows, but the discomfort is actually more, but I know how to handle it better. So, for example, as a child, maybe your 20% discomfort is that you tried out for a team and you didn't, and you didn't make the team, or you wanted a toy and you didn't get the toy. I mean, for a kid, that's, that's a problem. That's like that 20% of discomfort. But as an adult, it's that your kid didn't make the team and your job is this and your bank account reflects that and the mortgage has to be paid. So there's more discomfort, but because you're old, but because your life is bigger. And the secret to confidence and the secret to happiness is that you can face that discomfort and just be like, oh, yeah, I mean, I can be happy and I do whatever it is that I want to do, regardless of what is in my 20%. My 20% there is just to show me what I need to work out. That is it. That's it. And you might be sitting there thinking like, oh, yeah, whatever. That just sounds like too good to be. Like, that's just too easy. It is. It's easy. Well, okay. It's simple, but it may not be easy because it requires you to adopt that growth mindset. It requires you to be curious about whatever emotion you're feeling right now so that you can actually tackle it. But if you are able to go through life understanding that you will have this discomfort and you can face that discomfort with serenity, that's the trick to happiness, because you will never be 100% happy, in the sense of you can be 100% happy, but you will never in your life have a moment where every single thing is at the best level that it could be. That's just not the way this thing works. Okay. So far, so good. Give me a 1 if you're still paying attention, or if you want to like punch me. Or no, or give me a 2 if you want to punch me because you're like, no. Okay. I'm seeing 1s. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. So now that we know that the trick to confidence and the trick to happiness is facing our 20% of discomfort with serenity, then how the heck do you do that? Now, my friends, this is where I can change your life. Okay. So this is actually in my book, and I explained to it because when I understood this, I was like, oh, like this is power. All right. So everything starts with a thought, like this pen over here. This pen had to exist in somebody's imagination before it ever became a pen, right? Everything starts with your thought. And when I work with kids, I say this and they're like, oh, it's like as a child, or to my kids when they were little, I can control what they eat, where they go to school, what time they wake up, what time they go to bed. I can control everything except for one thing, what goes on between their ears. So I can control things, but I can't control what they think. So, and the same is true with you. So people can influence you, but nobody can make you think something without your permission. So if you think that you're not good enough, that is on you. That's your choice. People can tell you things, but they can't make you think that for you. Now, think about that. That's power. That is ultimate power because nobody can think for you. Only you can do that. So you can give permission to somebody to step all over you, or you can give yourself permission to tell them to go take a hike and think whatever it is that you want to think about you. That is under your control. The other thing that is under your control are the words that you use. Nobody can speak for you. Nobody can make your mouth move to say the things that they want you to say. Only you say them. That is power. Now, sometimes what happens is that like we work unconsciously, right? So like you're angry and out comes your mother. Out comes the words that you have heard over and over and over again. Those are your beliefs. Your beliefs are thoughts that are expressed through words that you've heard so many times through so many years that you think they are true. Now, beliefs come from outside of you. Like if you are, if your parents are Catholic, there's a good chance that you're a Catholic too. There are beliefs that come from, from your culture, from your history, from your traditions. And then there are beliefs that come from your own experiences of the world around you. Either way, those beliefs are super important because they're the gatekeepers. The belief is going to either push you or allow you to take certain actions, or they're going to stop you from taking certain actions. And I'm going to show you examples of that in just a second. But beliefs, just remember this, beliefs are where it's at, right? Because they're going to push you forward or they're going to hold you back. Hold you back from what? From taking action. Because guess what an idea is worth? It's worth nothing. I can't take an idea to a bank and cash it for a check. An idea means absolutely nothing. It has zero value unless you take an action. So your beliefs are going to cause some kind of action or inaction. That action is going to have some kind of a result. 2 + 2 will always equal 4. It will never be 5. Okay. So, and that result is going to reinforce the thought, which is going to reinforce the belief, and on and on and on we go. That's why I call the power wheel. So let me give you a couple of examples to make this more clear to you. So maybe, oh, I thought I had another one. Okay. I tried to give a chocolate production example, but I don't know if I got this right or not. But for example, maybe you have a thought. It's like, I had an issue with production this week and I was able to handle it. So the words that you would use is like, I'm good at what I do. And the belief then is like, because I'm good at what I do, I can do things that other people can't do. And if that is your belief, that is going to lead you to take a certain action, right? Maybe you go and you take a loan from a bank to grow your business, or maybe you go and you try to sell your chocolate to a certain store, or maybe you increase, the farm so that you can plant more. I don't know where you are in your business, but that belief that you are good at what you do is going to lead you to take these kinds of actions that are going to move that forward, that's going to support that belief. So maybe it is that you take a loan to grow your business, and maybe you buy a machine from Cocoa Town. And with the cash influx, you buy your machine, you increase your production, that's your action. And what's going to be the result? The result is you just doubled your production. You just doubled your sales. I must be really good at what I do. And the words is like, I'm good at my business. And you keep that wheel that we talked about, right? Oops. It keeps turning, but it keeps turning and leading you in a positive direction towards your goals. But the same way that it can be something positive, you can hold yourself back and make your life so much harder than it has to be, exactly the same way. So I'll give you an example of that. Okay. Let's say that, I don't know, you have you have a shop and you forgot to turn off the water, and the water bill is going to be astronomical. So the thought is, it's like, I forgot to turn off the water. I'm overwhelmed. And so the words that you use aren't so kind. The words are like, I'm such an fill in the blank, right? I'm such a really bad word here. I cannot believe I forgot to turn the water off. I mean, like, who the hell does that in this day and age to not turn the water off? I'm just, so the belief that I have is like, I am so overwhelmed. I'm so stressed. I am so like, I can't do everything for everyone, because I'm taking care of all these things that I even forgot to turn the water off. Like, what the heck? If that is my belief, then my action is going to be different. My actions are, maybe I'm going to yell at my kids because they didn't pick up their room. Because I didn't ask them 1,000,000 times. And shouldn't they just pick up their room? Because like, God, how hard is it? Don't they understand that I'm overwhelmed, that I have a lot on my plate? Or maybe there is a coworker that asks you a question and you're like, are you kidding me? Like, you've been here for like a year and you still don't know that? Like, why are you asking me these things? I can't take care of all these things, because like, you should know this. Like, don't you understand? Like, I need you to help me, not to be asking me questions. That's going to be the result. It's going to feel like crap, because you're going to say those things to the kids, or you're going to regret it. You're going to be mean, and then you're going to feel really bad about that. And then that feeling is going to feed into the thought of, oh, I'm such a terrible human being. Like, I can't believe that I just said all these things. I'm overwhelmed. And when you become overwhelmed, then you forget to turn off the water. And then the cycle goes on and on and on. But the good news is that you have the power to change that. Again, it's simple. It's not necessarily easy. It takes conviction. It takes confidence, but you can, because it all starts with your thought. And who is the only person that can control your thoughts? Let's type it in the chat just to make sure everybody knows what I'm talking. Who is the only person that can think for you? Yes, Allison. Yes. Yes. So guess what? If you want, look at your life, look at the things around you. If there's anything in your life that is not at the level that you want it to be, the way to change it is by changing how you think about it. That is where you start. And you have the power to do that. You don't need money to think. You don't need time to think. Think in the shower. Like, you just need the willingness, the curiosity, the desire, and the discipline to train yourself to think differently. And if you do, your life will change. And I'm not saying that, so like New Year's resolutions, right? This year, I'm going to lose 1,000,000 pounds. I'm going to exercise every day for at least 45 minutes. And I'm going to eat vegetables for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm only going to drink water. And then you don't do anything, because it's just too much. You're not going to change everything at once. So all I'm asking is for you to change 1%. Be 1% better today than you were yesterday. And then tomorrow, you do it again. Just be 1% different. So if you have thought for your whole life that you suck at math, right? That math is just not your thing. But in order for you to be confident about the business that you're growing, you kind of need to know accounting. So there's a little issue there. I'm not telling you that, you sit there and you do affirmations until you're blue in the face, like, I am a mathematician, I am a great accountant, I am great at math. You can say that all you want. That's not going to change a damn thing, because that's not how you're feeling. But if today you say, you know what, I am going to go to the restaurant and I'm going to figure out the tip in my head. I am not going to use the calculator, and I'm not going to ask for somebody. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to figure out what 20% is of 200, whatever. I don't know. One little thing. That's all I'm asking for. Because if you're 1% better today than you were yesterday, and tomorrow you're 1% better than you were today, in less than 4 months, you will be 100% better than you are today. That's it. That's all it takes. It's not mystery. It's just action. So the other cool thing, check this out. I tried to do this to the best of my ability, but so let's say that, this is time and this is you. And if nothing changes, that is how life is going to be. But let's say, it's like you want a different result. Like, this is the result if nothing changes, but you want something different. You start here, you make 1% change every day. What's going to happen over time? Oh, you're going to be somewhere completely different. But you didn't start up here to have a straight line. That's not what you did. You started in the same place and you just went changing little by little. And over time, you will end up somewhere completely different. And the cool thing about that is that this is probably better than you can possibly imagine. It just is, because the person that you are today can handle, let me go back to hold on, because I think I did it here anyways. Okay. The person that you are today can handle this. But the person that you're going to be 4 months from now, by changing 1% per day, is going to be able to handle this. And you don't know that yet, right? So some people are like, oh, but if I grow, I help people. Like one of my businesses is that I help people start a business. Oh, but like, I can't. I can't grow a business, my chocolate business, because then it's going to mean that my kids, I'm not going to be able to spend as much time with my kids, or I'm not going to be able to do this, or I just don't know how. It's like, yeah, but you don't have that problem yet, right? So, and by the time that you have that problem, by the time that you're so successful that, you might have to be traveling to India for these shows or doing all these things, you're going to be able to handle the situation with your kids, because you will have grown, because your container will have grown. So don't worry that you're not going to be able to handle the problems in the future, because if you do that 1%, you will be changing over time, and you will be able to handle your 20% of discomfort when you get bigger. That's all this is, right? So don't worry about that, because as your container grows, your discomfort, I'm not telling you that you're not going to have that problem. You will 100% have that problem, but you will also have the capacity to handle it. That's all I'm saying. So it doesn't matter what life is going to throw at you, as long as you're growing, as long as you have that growth mindset, as long as you're in control of your thoughts and you remember this and you work at it, you'll be able to handle it, period. And I'm not saying that because I have like some magical superpower. I'm saying that because I've done that, and anybody that just applies themselves can do that too. And that means you. So if there's anything in your life that is not working at the level that you want it to, go back to your thoughts. What do you think about that situation? And that's going to give you, it's going to be expressed in a word, and that's going to tell you what your beliefs are. And then you can work on those. You can change them little by little, so that in the end, you end up somewhere completely different than if you made no action Okay. And that is the secret to life. And that is what I had to tell you. So if you want to learn more about this, if you want to reach out to me, you can always go to my website, Empowered by Discomfort. That is where a lot of my programs in my life live. Any questions, thoughts? And because growth mindset and all feedback, I'm always looking to improve and to be able to serve you better.